So, good day everyone. Today, we are going to present about the anticholinergic parasympathetic bronchodilators. So, I know na marami na po sa atin ang may ideas kung ano po ang mga bronchodilators. Katulad po ng mga inhalers, nebulizers po na ginagamit po of some individuals na meron pong mga asthma, COPD, or other respiratory disorders po. So learning these anticholinergic bronchodilators po is very significant and important for us kasi po we are a respiratory therapy student, and of course magagamit po natin siya in the future kapag naging registered respiratory therapist na po tayo, and lalong-lalo na po if we're going to work inside the hospital or in the medical field. So, we are expecting po na magagamit po natin itong learnings and knowledge na to about the bronchodilators, and may times po talaga na tayo ang mag-a-administer ng mga drugs or medications na to in our patients. So as an RT student, we are supposed to know about these bronchodilators, kung ano po ang nagiging effect niya in our body, especially po sa mga merong problema sa respiratory system, and kung ano po yung dosage ng drugs or medicines na to, and kung ano po ang tamang gamit at tamang maayos po na paggamit so that it may result to safetyness and effectiveness po to our patients. So with that, ito po yung anticholinergic bronchodilators objective. So the indications for anticholinergic bronchodilators for specific short-acting muscarinic antagonist or tinatawag din po nating SAMA, and long-acting anticholinergic muscarinic antagonist or LAMA po agents. The mechanism of action, clinical pharmacology, adverse effects, clinical application, and respiratory care assessment of anticholinergic therapy. So as we defined the anticholinergic bronchodilator, so it is an agent that blocks the parasympathetic nervous fibers, which allow relaxation of smooth muscle in the airway. So, as we all know that bronchodilator is a medicine po that helps open our airways by blocking the specific signals in the nervous system. So, ano nga po ba itong specific signals na to? So, because in our body po, meron po kasi tayong tinatawag na parasympathetic nervous system o yung mas alam po nating rest and digest. And this chemical or nire-release na chemical is yung tinatawag po nating acetylcholine. And acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter po. And when this acetylcholine becomes active, it signals po na pasikipin yung muscles natin in the airway system o yung tinatawag po nating bronchoconstriction. Kaya po tayong nahihirapang huminga. So these anticholinergic bronchodilators is yung nagiging gamot or nagiging solusyon po para paluwangin yung airway system natin. Kaya nagkakaroon po tayo ng maayos na pagdaloy ng hangin sa baga po natin. So example of this anticholinergic bronchodilators, meron po tayong ipratropium, Atrovent, and Tiotropium spiriva. And these bronchodilators are indicated for maintenance treatment in COPD, including po yung chronic bronchitis and emphysema. And ipratropium is used and may be indicated in some individuals with asthma. So ang pinagkaiba po ng ipratropium and Tiotropium is kapag sinasabi po nating ipratropium, ito po yung mga bronchodilators na short-acting lang po sila medication. So ibig sabihin po kapag short-acting, mabilis lang po yung talab nila sa body natin. Kaso mabilis din po mawala yung effect. Kaya po sinasabing short-acting medication lang sila. However, kapag tiotropium naman po, ito yung mga drugs or medications na ginagamit for long-acting medication. For example po sa mga COPD, ginagamit po siya as drugs na maintenance para po mapanatili po yung pagkakaroon ng maluwag na paghinga o manatiling bukas po yung daluyan ng hangin in our airway system. At meron din po tayong tinatawag na combined anticholinergic and beta-agonist bronchodilators. So this is a combination of anticholinergic and beta agonist po. Beta agonist po pala is also a bronchodilator, such as ipratropium and albuterol, and is indicated for use in patients receiving a regular treatment for COPD who require additional bronchodilation for relief of airflow. So this combined anticholinergic bronchodilators is a two-in-one treatment po. So ibig sabihin po, of course, nagiging malakas po yung dosage ng gamot na to because of the two drugs that are added. And yun nga po, ginagamit lang po siya for severe cases. And sa mga patients po na nangangailangan ng additional bronchodilation for relief of airflow obstruction. And next din po, meron po tayong tinatawag din na anticholinergic nasal spray. So a nasal spray formulation is indicated for symptomatic relief of allergic and non-allergic perennial rhinitis and the common cold. So anticholinergic medication can also be delivered po through nasal formulation to treat symptoms in nose rather than the lungs. So hindi lang po tayo gumagamit ng inhalers or nebulizers for the lungs, but also this is available in nasal spray formulation. And the primary purpose of this anticholinergic nasal spray is ginagamit po siya for the symptomatic relief or yung tinatawag po nating panandaliang ginhawa para po sa mga merong runny nose or congestion. And for example po, if you have common cold, and this anticholinergic nasal spray, ang ginagawa po nila is hindi po nila pinapatay yung virus or bacteria, but rather po nagbibigay po sila ng symptomatic relief or yung tinatawag po nating panandaliang ginhawa. And for the specific anticholinergic o tinatawag din po natin sila as parasympatholitic agents. So meron po tayong 6 na bronchodilators. So first is the atropine sulfate. So this atropine sulfate had been administered as a nebulized solution using either the injectable solution or preferably solutions marketed for aerosolization. And however, this agent is no longer aerosolized. So kung mapapansin po natin sa picture na yung itsura niya po is injectable solution. And sinasabi po na had been administered. So ibig sabihin po historically ginamit po dati yung atropine sulfate. And ngayong panahon na po hindi na po siya ginagamit. So atropine sulfate was historically administered as a nebulized solution using either injectable solutions or specific aerosol formulations. And kaya sinasabi po natin na hindi na ginagamit as aerosolized medication itong atropine sulfate kasi nga po meron siyang hindi magandang side effect in our body. So the drug is not recommended for inhalation as bronchodilator because of its widespread distribution in the body and the availability of the approved agents ipratropium and tiotropium. So sinasabi po dito na meron po kasing isang chemical itong atropine sulfate na hindi po siya fully ionized. So ibig sabihin po nun kapag hindi siya fully ionized is kumakalat po yung effect niya in our body or in the other parts of our body. Instead, na dapat sa lungs lang nagkakaroon ng effect yung atropine sulfate, kaso po hindi siya fully ionized, kaya po kumakalat sa ibang parte ng katawan natin yung effect ng atropine sulfate. Kaya hindi na po siya ginagamit as aerosolized medication. And meron din pong siyang side effects na dry mouth, blurred vision, tachycardia, or the abnormally rapid heart rate. So the dosage and efficacy of this medication, the effectiveness and the appearance of side effects for atropine sulfate are strictly dose-dependent. So nakadepende po kung kaninong patients po natin i-administer itong atropine sulfate. Kapag sa mga children po, the dosages were historically given at 0.05 milligram per kilogram 3 or 4 times daily po. And for adults naman, nagbibigay po tayo ng 0.025 milligram per kilogram 3 times or 4 times daily. And of course, for high doses naman po, nagbibigay po tayo ng 0.05 or 0.1 milligram per kilogram in adults, most especially po kapag high doses. And nagpo-provide po siya ng greater and long-lasting bronchodilation. And of course, kapag high doses po, mas nagiging mataas po yung side effects niya in our body. And next po, for the ipratropium bromide, Atrovent, it is a non-selective antagonist of muscarinic 1, muscarinic 2, and muscarinic 3 receptors. And as a quaternary ammonium derivative of atropine, ipratropium is fully ionized and does not distribute well across lipid membranes, limiting its distribution more to the lung when inhaled. So kung ikukumpara po natin ang ipratropium bromide sa atropine sulfate kanina, sinasabi po na that atropine sulfate is not fully ionized. So ibig sabihin po, hindi po nagiging maganda yung effects niya na kumakalat po in our body. However, kapag ipratropium naman po, sinasabi dito na fully ionized siya. So ibig sabihin po, safe siyang gamitin. And yung effects po ng drug na to is nag-i-stay lang po sa lungs natin and hindi siya kumakalat in other parts of the body. And for the administration and dosage of this drug, the ipratropium is currently available for bronchodilator use. Ginagamit po natin siya as hydrofluoroalkane propelled metered dose inhaler na merong 17 mg per puff. And also, pwede rin po siya as nebulizer solution of 0.02% concentration in a 2.5 milliliter vial, giving a 500 mg dose per treatment. And also, other option po for the delivery of this medication is the soft mist propellant-free Respimat inhaler. So for HFA or the MDI natin, the standard dose of this is usually 2 inhalation siya per puff and taken 4 times a day. And the strength po nito is we deliver 17 milligram per puff. Nakadepends po sa kung anong label po nung drug. And the maximum po nito as hindi po tayo pwedeng mag-exceed ng 12 puff in 24 hours or in 1 day. And for nebulizer solution naman po, the dosage of this drug is 500 milligram per dose treatment. And we administer this 3 to 4 times a day. And the timing of this dosage should be spaced about 6 to 8 hours apart. And itong Respimat inhaler na po na to is according to our textbook is hindi po siya available in the United States, but in other country or and in other region is available po siya only in the United States. And the absorption of this drug, it is poorly absorbed in the bloodstream. Kaya nga po siya fully ionized. Hindi po siya kumakalat in our body. And only about 20% of an inhaled dose and only 2% of a nebulized dose actually reaches the circulation. And the metabolism, it is broken down via ester hydrolysis into inactive products. And the protein binding, very low binding to plasma proteins, usually less than 9%. And the elimination of this is short life lang po siya. Kaya po sinabi natin kanina that ipratropium is a short-acting medication. Ibig sabihin po, mabilis po yung talab sa katawan natin, kaso mabilis din po mawala yung effect sa katawan natin. Kaya po siya sinasabing short-acting muscarinic antagonist. And the peak effect nito is umaabot po muna ng 1 to 2 hours bago po natin maramdaman yung pinakamalakas na effect nitong drug na to. And it is lower than beta agonists, which peak in 20 to 30 minutes. And in asthma, the duration of bronchodilator effect is about the same for ipratropium as for beta agonists. And for COPD, the duration is longer by 1 to 2 hours. And next po, the ipratropium bromide or yung Atrovent nasal spray natin. So ginagamit po siya for treatment of rhinopathies and rhinorrhea, non-allergic, perennial rhinitis, viral infectious rhinitis or yung colds, and allergic rhinitis if intranasal corticosteroids fail to control symptoms. So this ipratropium bromide Atrovent nasal spray significantly reduces the volume of nasal secretions or yung pagkakaroon ng baradong ilong natin. And para hindi rin po maging obstructed yung ilong natin and for greatly improve inhalation of air. And the nasal spray is available into 2 strengths. Pwede po tayo magbigay ng 0.03 solution, delivering 21 mg per spray, 2 sprays per nostril, 2 or 3 times daily siya ginagamit. And also in 0.06% solution, delivering 42 mg per spray, 2 sprays per nostril din po. But 3 or 4 times daily siya ginagamit. And of course, meron din pong siyang side effects. Nagkakaroon po tayo ng nasal dryness, itching, epistaxis or yung nosebleed, dry mouth, dry throat, and blurred vision or urinary hesitancy. And next po is the ipratropium and albuterol combivent. So kagaya po ng sinabi natin kanina that it is a combination of anticholinergic and beta-agonist bronchodilators. With the usual doses of each agent, which is 18 mg per puff of ipratropium and 90 mg per puff of albuterol. So mapapansin po natin na mas maraming parang part yung albuterol kumpara sa ipratropium. And this drug is effective for COPD patients. Kasi nga po this ipratropium and albuterol ginagamit po siya for severe cases katulad po ng mga merong chronic obstructive pulmonary disease na nangangailangan po ng additional bronchodilator para maging maayos po yung daluyan ng hangin in their airway system. And ginagamit din po natin siya as duoneb, yung ipratropium and albuterol base po natin na mayroong ipratropium 0.5 mg and for albuterol po is 2.5. And also Respimat inhaler, the propellant-free soft mist inhaler. And again, that this Respimat inhaler is not available in the US, but we can get this Respimat inhaler in other country. And next is the glycopyrrolate, a quaternary ammonium derivative of atropine that, similar to ipratropium, does not distribute well across lipid membranes in the body. It is usually administered parenterally as an antimuscarinic agent during reversal of neuromuscular blockade as an alternative to atropine. So sinasabi po natin dito na derivative siya ng atropine. So parehas po silang parenterally or injectable solutions na ina-administer in our patients via intravenous or intramuscular. And the injectable solution has been nebulized in a 1 mg dose for bronchodilation. And although the injectable formulation of glycopyrrolate is used as a less expensive alternative to the Atrovent brand of ipratropium, but still it is not approved for inhalation. So sinasabi po na alternative medication po itong glycopyrrolate for ipratropium kasi nga po mas mura daw siya. And sinasabi dito na hindi po approved ang glycopyrrolate for inhalation kasi po first parenterally po siya ginagamit for our patients. Second, off-label po sila. Kahit na po ginagamit po natin sila kasi nga po mas mura po sila and alternative to Atrovent, but still injectable solutions pa rin po sila and hindi po talaga ginawa ang injectable solutions as a gamot for respiratory disorders. And under investigation pa po itong glycopyrrolate. Kaya hindi po siya under for safety and standards. And hindi po siya dumaan sa mga regulatory tests for inhalation use ang glycopyrrolate. And then the onset of action of this drug is approximately 15 to 30 minutes. So mabilisan lang po siya. The peak effect reach within 30 minutes to 1 hour. And the duration po, it lasts approximately 3 hours. So The onset of action is mararamdaman po natin yung effect from 15 minutes hanggang 30 minutes lang po. And yung peak effect niya, mararamdaman lang po natin yung pinakamataas na effect ng drug na to after 30 minutes to 1 hour. And tumatagal po ang glycopyrrolate in our body hanggang 6 hours. And lastly, the tiotropium bromide, Spiriva. It is a muscarinic receptor antagonist, a long-acting bronchodilator, and a quaternary ammonium compound is structurally related to ipratropium and is poorly absorbed after inhalation. So sinabi po natin kanina that tiotropium is a long-acting bronchodilator. Ibig sabihin po, ginagamit siya as a drug or medication for maintenance ng mga merong COPD patients. And the inhalation of a single dose gives a peak plasma level within 5 minutes with a rapid decline to very low levels within 1 hour. And in patients with COPD, very effective po itong tiotropium bromide na to. Kasi po, yung nagiging effect niya po in our body is up to 24 hours. So, ang dosage po ng tiotropium is usually one time a day lang po siya. And the effect of tiotropium can be seen for 32 hours. However, it dips between 16 hours and 24 hours owing to circadian rhythm. And it exhibits receptor subtype selectivity for muscarinic 1 and muscarinic 3 receptors, and it binds all 3 muscarinic receptors, which is yung M1, M2, and M3 natin, but it dissociates much more slowly than ipratropium from M1 and M3 receptors, and this results in a selectivity of action on M1 and M3 receptors. And the inhalation of this drug is a single dose po siya. So once a day lang po natin siya take. And it gives a peak plasma level within 5 minutes with a rapid decline to very low levels within 1 hour. And then in patients with COPD, tiotropium gives a bronchodilating effect for up to 24 hours with adequate dose. So tumatagal po siya ng isang araw. The effect of tiotropium can be seen for 32 hours. However, it dips between 16 hours and 24 hours owing to circadian rhythm. And also, itong aclidinium bromide is bagong bronchodilators lang po siya. It is a novel, long-acting inhaled muscarinic antagonist and is currently being developed by Forest Laboratories as a maintenance treatment for COPD. So sinasabi po na itong aclinidium bromide is also the same for as the tiotropium kasi nga po long-acting bronchodilators po sila and both na ginagamit po for the maintenance medication sa mga merong COPD. And this agent has shown potent antagonism of all muscarinic receptors, dissociating slowly at M3 and a shorter time at M2, indicating the potential to provide sustained bronchodilation that is similar in action to tiotropium. So, ang pinagkaiba lang po ng aclinidium bromide sa tiotropium is kapag take po natin ang aclinidium bromide, usually two dosages po siya or 2 times a day. Kapag tiotropium naman po is once lang po natin siya ginagamit in 1 day. And at the present time in the United States, tiotropium is only available as a DPI. However, as discussed earlier in the use of ipratropium and Combivent, the soft mist propellant free Respimat inhaler is available outside the United States with tiotropium. So the only approved anticholinergic agents for inhalation as an aerosol at this time is yung mga ipratropium natin, which is available as MDI or as a small volume nebulization solution. And also, pati yung mga intranasal spray natin, yung mga tiotropium, which is only available as a DPI. So, only the Respimat inhaler is hindi po available in the United States, but available po siya outside or in other region or in other country. And the mode of action of anticholinergic bronchodilators centers on their ability to block the effect of their parasympathetic nervous system on the airways. So in the normal airway, a basal level of bronchomotor tone is caused by parasympathetic activity. And this basal level of tone can be abolished by anticholinergic agents such as yung atropine, indicating is mediated by acetylcholine. And our resting airway po kasi hindi po siya fully relaxed, but it is held in a state of slight contraction. Yun po yung tinatawag natin na bronchomotor tone. And the smooth muscle that surrounds in our bronchioles is primarily controlled by the vagus nerve or the powerhouse of the parasympathetic nervous system. And even when you are resting and healthy, it's still the vagus nerve sends a steady stream of low frequency electrical impulses to the lungs. So nagkakaroon pa rin po ng constriction bronchoconstriction in our airway system. And when this vagus nerve endings, nag-release na po siya ng neurotransmitter o yung tinatawag po natin na acetylcholine, and this neurotransmitter travels across the tiny gap or yung synapse natin and binds to the muscarinic receptors that located on the airway smooth muscles. And this binding, nung nag-bind na po siya, it triggers an intracellular signaling cascade that increases calcium levels. Kaya po nagkakaroon ng muscle contraction or yung bronchoconstriction. Kaya po sumisikip yung daluyan ng hangin natin in our airway system. And the cholinergic stimulation of muscarinic receptors on airway smooth muscle and submucosal glands, yun nga po nagkakos ng contraction and nagre-release po ng mucus secretion. Kaya po nagiging sarado yung daluyan ng hangin in the airway system. O nagiging obstructed po siya. And as all we can see in this figure, so the diagram shows a parasympathetic nerve consisting of a preganglionic fiber and a postganglionic fiber. Ito po, sa parasympathetic nerve natin. And kapag nag-release na po siya ng neurotransmitter o itong acetylcholine, these postganglionic fibers terminate near the airway epithelium and smooth muscle, and ito nga po nag-release ng acetylcholine. And this zigzag line, ito po yung nagle-labeled as black that represents the introduction of our parasympatholitic or anticholinergic agents. Katulad po ng mga ipratropium or atropine. And these agents competitively block the action of acetylcholine at the postganglionic effector cell receptors. And by preventing acetylcholine from binding to the receptors, the drug, pinipigilan po nila yung pag-signal po nitong acetylcholine para po maiwasan yung pag-contract ng muscle natin or yung bronchoconstriction. So these anticholinergic or parasympatholytic agents, sila po yung medication that blocks this acetylcholine para po maiwasan tong muscle contraction po natin in our airway para hindi po tayo hindi po maging obstructed yung daluyan ng hangin in our airway system. And also an important point to realize with use of a blocking agent such as an anticholinergic bronchodilator is that the effect seen depends on the degree of tone present that can be blocked. So for example na lang po dito na in healthy subjects po, of course in a person with normal airways and low basal tone, kapag nag-administer po tayo ng anticholinergic bronchodilator, it might result only in a small amount of bronchodilation kasi nga po, maliit lang po yung constriction para i-reverse. And compare naman po sa mga merong asthma, merong COPD, or other respiratory disorders, kapag in patients where the bronchial tone is intensified, Kapag na-trigger po sila, it's either because of their disease and sa mga irritants na nagti-trigger po ng sakit nila. Of course, the degree of tone is much higher. And because there is a more active constriction present, the blocking agent has a more significant and noticeable effect. So kapag nag-administer po tayo ng anticholinergic bronchodilator is nakadepende po siya in the effect is that the effect seen depends on the degree of tone present that can be blocked. And for vagally mediated reflex bronchoconstriction, the degree of tone can be suddenly increased by vagally mediated reflex bronchoconstriction. So the sensory C fiber nerves respond to various stimuli such as yung mga irritant aerosols, cold air and high flow airflow rates, cigarette smoke, noxious fumes, and mediators of inflammation such as histamine. So when itong mga sensory C fibers natin kapag nag-activate po sila, they produce an afferent nerve impulse na magsisend po in our central nervous system, which result in a reflex cholinergic efferent impulse na nagkakos po ng constriction of airway smooth muscle and nagre-release po ng secretion from mucous glands as well as cough. So when these irritants cause the airway to constrict via a reflex impulse, itong mga anticholinergic agent natin works by blocking this specific reflex. So the drug is essentially canceling out the extra tone added by the irritant. So changes in the airway may also sensitize the subepithelial cough receptors, making them more responsive to lower thresholds of stimulation. And this sensitization is often seen during colds that involve lung congestion. Lung inflation during a deep breath stimulates the cough receptors, resulting not only in coughing but also increased bronchomotor tone. So it has been suggested that the greater bronchial reactivity in asthmatic patients or patients with COPD may be caused by mucosal edema and deformation of airway tissue, which increases the sensitivity of these receptors to response to irritants. And this figure naman po, this process describes how external irritants trigger a nervous system reflex that leads to the narrowing of the airway and increase the mucus production. So as all we can see, itong mga irritant aerosols po natin, mga cold, dry air, or the inflammatory mediators. So the process is triggered when the airway epithelium is na-expose po siya in our irritant aerosols, itong mga cold, dry airs, inflammatory mediators, or mga cigarette smoke, or noxious fumes, or inflammatory mediators like histamine. And these stimuli, active sensory C fiber, itong mga C fiber pa natin, in the epithelial lining, this activation includes or involves the substance P, or itong SP, and sends an afferent nerve impulse toward the papuntang central nervous system natin. And the CNS, or the central nervous system, processes the signals and sends a reflex cholinergic impulse back to the lungs through the efferent branch of the vagus nerve. So the efferent fibers terminate near airway structures and release the neurotransmitter, ito pang acetylcholine natin. And the released acetylcholine stimulates yung muscarinic receptor natin, nagbabind po siya dun, resulting in two primary actions. The muscle surrounds in the airway is nagtatight or sumisikip, leading to bronchoconstriction or yung narrowing of our smooth muscles. And the submucosal glands are stimulated to release secretions or mucus into the airway. Ito po in our submucosal glands. So the muscarinic receptor subtypes, which are the M1 receptors, M3 receptors, and the M2 receptors. So the M1 receptors on the postganglionic parasympathetic neuron facilitate cholinergic nerve transmission, leading to release of acetylcholine. And the acetylcholine, ini-stimulate niya po yung M3 receptors natin, subtypes on airway smooth muscles and submucosal glands, causing contraction of smooth muscles and excitosis of secretion from the mucous gland. And the M2 receptor subtype at cholinergic nerve endings inhibits further acetylcholine release from the postganglionic neuron. So these M1 receptors, located po sila on the parasympathetic ganglia. And they facilitate the transmission of nerve impulses across the ganglionic synapse from the preganglionic to the postganglionic nerve. And yung mga M2 po natin, these function as autoreceptors and located po sila in our postganglionic parasympathetic nerve endings. And their primary role is to inhibit the further release of acetylcholine, serving as a feedback mechanism to regulate airway tone. And our M3 receptors, these are located directly on our airway smooth muscle and submucosal glands. So usually the M3 receptor, ito po dito po nagbabinds usually yung uh, acetylcholine natin that are located in our airway smooth muscle. So this diagram, in muscarinic receptor subtypes, this diagram showed that how acetylcholine interacts with this receptor, itong M1, M1, M2, M3, and they trigger our smooth muscle na nagkukos po ng constriction and mucosification from the glands. And anticholinergic drugs, yung mga anticholinergic drugs such as ipratropium acts as specific blockers. So this means that they bind to all three subtypes, yung M1, M2, M3 receptors po natin, preventing acetylcholine from attaching, and ini-stop niya po yung bronchoconstriction. And this table, the muscarinic receptor subtypes is this M1 or muscarinic 1 is affected by the GQ protein. The effector is yung phospholipase C, and the M2 receptor, they affect the GI protein, and the effector is adenylyl cyclase. Nagde-decrease po siya. And for M3, they affect GQ protein, and effector po nila is the phospholipase C. And for M4, they affect GI protein, which the effector is the adenylyl cyclase. It also decreases. And for M5 receptor, they affect GQ protein. And the effector is phospholipase. C leads to an increase. And that's all for the mode of action.
Hello? Naririnig ba? So, anticholinergic bronchodilators, sabihin lang natin ulit, mag-recap lang tayo guys. Tinatawag din sila as muscarinic antagonists. So sabi rin ni EJ na medication sila that is used to relax and open the airways and are commonly used sa management of COPD and sometimes sa asthma. So sa classification based on duration. So anticholinergic bronchodilators are classified into SAMA at LAMA. So yun yung short-acting muscarinic antagonist or SAMA. Example dito yung ipratropium, nakalagay na dyan, onset 15 minutes, peak effect 1 to 2 hours, duration 4 to 6 hours, and ginagamit sila for acute symptom relief. Next po. So, uy. So sa long-acting muscarinic antagonist or LAMA, example is tiotropium, glycopyrrolate, omeclidinium, aclidinium. So, yung onset is lower than short-acting agents, duration 12 to 24 hours, and used for maintenance therapy and provide sustained bronchodilation. So, long-acting agents have greater selectivity for L3 receptors and dissociate slowly, allowing prolonged action. Next po. So anticholinergic bronchodilators are mainly used in COPD. So these are first-line maintenance drugs because parasympathetic activity plays a major role in COPD airway narrowing. So number 2, asthma, used as adjunct therapy in patients not adequately controlled with beta-2 agonists. Number 3 is acute bronchospasm, often combined with beta-2 agonists for additive bronchodilation. And number 4, prevention of bronchospasm, especially in chronic airway diseases. So sa adverse effects naman po. Adverse effects. Yan. So sa adverse effects naman tayo. So anticholinergic bronchodilators are generally well tolerated because of their limited systemic absorption. Pero syempre may possibility din na may mag-occur din na ibang adverse effects. So sa common adverse effects, yung dry mouth, ito yung most frequent side effect due to reduced salivary gland secretion. Then throat irritation dahil sa local drug deposition in the airway. Isa din dito yung ubo due to airway irritation. Tsaka yung next po, yung bitter or unpleasant taste. So nag-occur sila due to drug residue in the mouth. Sa ocular effects naman, if the medication accidentally enters the sorry po. So nagkakos din sila ng pag-blurred ng mata, pupil dilation or mydriasis, increased intraocular, and delikado to sa mga patients na may narrow angle glaucoma. So sa urinary effects naman po, so sa urinary effects, pwede rin to mag-cause ng urinary retention by relaxing yung bladder smooth muscle. And mas common siya sa mga matatanda, sa mga pasyente na enlarged yung prostate, and sa patients with bladder obstruction. So sa gastrointestinal effects naman po. So sa gastrointestinal effects, meron ding constipation and reduced gastrointestinal motility. Nag-occur siya due to inhibition of parasympathetic activity in the digestive tract. Sa cardiovascular effects naman po. So sa cardiovascular effects, guys, may pagka-rare din siya, pero yung ibang pasyente nagkaka-experience din ng mild tachycardia and palpitation. So sa palpitation and mild tachycardia, hindi naman siya exactly rare, pero uncommon kasi siya kasi mababa yung systemic absorption. Nag-occur siya due to reduced parasympathetic control of heart rate. Sa central nervous system naman po. So these drugs have minimal CNS effects because they do not easily cross the blood-brain barrier. However, in rare cases, especially in elderly patients, effects may include dizziness and confusion. So sa mga serious but rare adverse effects naman po. So yung paradoxical bronchospasm. This is a rare condition where inhalation causes worsening bronchoconstriction instead of bronchodilation. Sorry po. This requires immediate discontinuation of the drug. And yung last but not the least is the hypersensitivity reactions. This may include rash, swelling, or allergic reaction, although uncommon. Yun lang. Next po. Thank you po.
So, ayan. First, so now na alam na natin yung mga gamot and saan siya nagagamit, ano yung mga side effects nila. Ngayon, this is a very crucial part kasi as an RT, we also administer drugs. Okay, so first is question muna. So what two known pulmonary disease use anticholinergic as their drug? So next po. So ayan, the answer is the COPD and the asthma. Next. So before we dive deeper, pag-usapan muna natin kung ano bang pinagkaibahan ng ating anticholinergic drugs and ang ating beta agonist. So, um, in onset kasi, nasabi ni EJ na may mga may mga drugs na tumatagal, 'di ba? May mga different drugs tayo. But here in onset is this refers to how quickly the medicine starts to work. So kung makikita natin dito are ang ating beta agonist is faster. So they start working faster than your anticholinergic. Pero um, we go to the time of to peak effect is masyadong slower ang anticholinergic. However, the duration is longer. Okay? So, kabaliktaran naman sa beta agonist because it is shorter. And then in terms of tremor, kaya maganda ang anticholinergic kasi actually advantage si anticholinergic na wala siyang adverse effect kasi nga gusto nating iwasan yung stress pa sa kanila na lalo na yung mga malalang sakit na COPD while si beta agonist kasi commonly nagko-cause siya ng side effects sa atin sa mga COPD patients. And here nakikita rin natin yung decrease in PaO2. This is very another advantage kasi many patient with COPD or yung mga severe asthma natin is already hypoxemic. We know that na kulang na sila ng oxygen due to their conditions. So using a treatment that avoids further lowering their oxygen level is a significant safety advantage. Plus, maintaining a stable PaO2 sa kanila will help to ensure that yung patient gas exchange will remain as efficient as possible during treatment kasi very important to kasi nga nahihirapan na sila, they are already struggling with airflow obstruction. And second to the last is the tolerance. Also your anticholinergic, wala siyang um uh, I mean this beta agonist kasi is excuse me. Uh, your tolerance kasi happens when the body gets used to a drug and it stop working as well as before. So, maganda si anticholinergic. Bakit? Kasi hindi nasasanay yung katawan mo sa drug. So, ibig sabihin, kahit ilang beses mo siyang ibigay sa pasyente, okay lang kasi nga hindi kayang i-tolerate. I mean hindi siya nato-tolerate ng body natin. So, puwede siyang maging effective pa rin gaya ng, kahit first time mo pa rin siyang ginamit, gano'n. And then the site of action, for COPD, and severe asthma as airflow is often blocked in both the large and small tubes using these both drugs, it ensures that the entire airway system is treated. Mamaya pag-uusapan natin and actually napag-usapan na natin before and na-mention na ni EJ yung mga different drugs na mga combine, ganyan. Makikita natin in terms of clinical application na gaano kahalaga na ipag-combine yung dalawa because of their effects. Next po. Ayan, so first we go to the use in COPD or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So your anticholinergic or muscarinic agents kasi are more potent bronchodilators than beta-adrenergic agents for treating chronic bronchitis and emphysema. So gaya ng sinabi ni EJ na ipratropium bromide, 'di ba? This is actually approved specifically for the regular maintenance treatment for airway flow or airway obstruction in your COPD. Next. Ayan, so your ipratropium bromide is, sabi ko nga, the approved specifically for the regular maintenance treatment of airflow obstruction in COPD. This is for rapid improvement of the lung function, yung mga forced expiratory volume nila in 1 second. This is very important, and this ipratropium bromide is combined short-acting muscarinic and adrenergic, and then your SABA. And this is used for quick symptom relief lang. Next po. So dito sa graph makikita natin yung may study kasi na ginawa that shows that ipratropium improves the baseline function and provides a better acute response than beta agonist. So dito sa graph na to, mas nakikita na mas effective yung ipratropium kumpara dun sa mga metoprolol para sa mga COPD patients, dahil nakikita dito na mas mataas yung percentage change nito sa mga forced expiratory volume in 1 second nila, or yan yung sinasabi nating FEV1, kahit medyo mas mabagal yung onset ng ating anticholinergic. Mas gusto natin yun kasi nga mas malakas and mas potent yung bronchodilation effect niya kaysa sa mga drugs na um, hindi na ay mabilis nga siyang mag-onset pero mabilis ring mawala. And next po. Ayan, so nasabi ni EJ yung tiotropium, 'di ba? So this tiotropium actually is a prolonged bronchodilation for up to 24 hours with a single daily dose. So this tiotropium, pwede natin siyang ibigay sa mga patient na mga nagme-maintenance, lalo na sa mga COPD. And kasi nga it requires single dose lang, and then yung effect niya is 24 hours, which is very beneficial for patient, lalo na kung severe cases na rin sila, because it improve overall health status and long-term stability. Next. Ayan, so tiotropium has been shown to reduce the number of exacerbation and hospitalization for COPD patient. So since this tiotropium is isang beses lang siya nagagamit and very matagal yung kanyang very matagal yung kanyang effect, and matagal yung bigay yung effect nung gamot sa kanila, is mas maganda yun kasi nga mas napapanatili nating stable yung function ng mga pasyente sa loob ng buong araw. So, napapakita dito or na-study nila na yung number of exacerbation or yung paglala ng mga symptoms ng mga patients natin sa COPD is nababawasan, and then yung hospitalization nila is medyo nababawasan na rin dahil the tiotropium drug is for maintenance. Next po. Before we go, let's recall pala, no, your COPD guidelines, okay? So, sabi ko, ipratropium, di ba? Si ipratropium, this is for short-acting bronchodilator. So, we want this kung mga acute cases. And then, si long-acting anticholinergics is ginagamit natin siya. For example, the tiotropium is for maintenance. So, kung tandaan nyo lang, by the word itself, short-acting, ibig sabihin saglitan lang, S for saglitan, and then long-acting, by the word itself, long, ibig sabihin matagal yung effect niya, and it is for maintenance mostly. Next is ito, yung use in asthma. So this is the anticholinergic actually is not a not a main drugs for asthma, but it is for add-on therapy. So this is used in combination with inhaled beta agonists to provide better results than using either drug alone. So sabi kasi ni National Asthma Guidelines, they suggest that ipratropium may provide additive, okay, add-on therapy nga, benefit when used in combination with inhaled beta agonist. So they are specifically recommended for use in combination sa mga inhaled beta agonist to provide better result kaysa gagamit sila ng mga gamot na pang-isahan lang, gano'n. So mas pinipili natin yung mga combined drugs lalo na kapag yung pasyente natin is nakakaranas ng mga severe acute asthma na hindi na to the point na severe na siya na hindi na tumatalab yung agonist, yung beta agonist na binibigay natin. So since sabi ko nga anticholinergic is a for long, so and matagal rin yung effect niya, mas maganda yun na mabigay sa mga severe cases para hindi rin kaagad mawala yung relief na binibigay nung gamot since combined sila. And next po. Ayan. So nakikita dito na we have anticholinergic may be especially useful for the following asthmatic patient. So first is yung nocturnal asthma. Ano ba yung nocturnal asthma? Yung nocturnal asthma, ito is by the word itself, nocturnal, gabi, nangyayari siya kapag gabi. So their longer duration, yung anticholinergic natin of action is being compared to short-acting beta agonists may help to protect against the drop in airflow that happens in night. So this is very beneficial for for our patient kasi nga um, mahirap na nga na may asthma sila, and then syempre it will affect their overall being kasi imagine they hindi sila nakakatulog, so it adds more stress sa kanila, kaya anticholinergic na longer duration is can be very very useful for them. Next. Ayan. So we also have your psychogenic asthma. Your psychogenic asthma, this is useful for asthma triggered by emotional stress, which is often mediated through the vagal parasympathetic nerve. So this is well explained by EJ kung paano nangyayari yung mga vagal parasympathetic nerve, kung paano siya na nakaka-affect sa ating body. Next. We also have here the beta blocker user. So this is beneficial for asthmatic patient who have other conditions. So yung mga patient natin na may additional conditions such as yung angina, hypertension, or glaucoma natin sa mata. So that requires them to take beta blocking medication. Minsan kasi may mga drugs tayo na pwedeng hindi siya pwede siyang makapag-exacerbate sa ibang condition. However, mas gusto sana natin na yun yung gamitin. However, ito nga yung beta blocker user is it especially yung mga may other conditions sila, parang nagko-cross out yung mga drugs natin na mga drugs effects natin, kaya this is useful yung anticholinergic. Next po. Ayan, this is also used for theophylline alternative. This can be useful sa mga patient natin na hindi nila kayang i-tolerate yung mga side effect ng theophylline. Next. Ayan, nasabi ko kanina, your acute severe episode, this is recommended when a patient is having a severe attack that is not responding well to a standard rescue inhaled or the beta agonist alone. Next po. So your research shows that adding ipratropium to nebulized albuterol for children with moderate to severe asthma significantly reduces the rate of hospitalization gaya rin ni tiotropium, 'di ba, sa mga COPD. And this it has a medical evidence na nagsasuggest that giving multiple dose of the anticholinergic drug actually provides a much better outcomes than giving just a single dose. Which is pag-uusapan natin next. Next po. Ayan. So, yan na. Sa combination therapy tayo. So, sa beta-adrenergic, ganyan, sa anticholinergic agents in chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So, kung maalala nyo to, itong table na una kong in-explain, this is actually very helpful. Next po. Ayan. So, recall, anticholinergic effects are seen more in saan? And then sa beta agonist effect are more pronounced in the blank. Next po. Ayan. So, the answer is anticholinergic effect are seen more in the central, larger airways while the beta agonist effect are more pronounced in the smaller peripheral airways. So theoretically, combining these two classes offers advantage in treating COPD and asthma. So imagine si anticholinergic natin sa central, 'di ba? So and then yung beta agonist is a smaller, which is actually nagko-complement sila with each other when they combine kasi instead of giving your patient yung mismong drug na yun na anticholinergic alone lang, kung i-combine natin sa beta agonist, we can pwede nating maapektuhan and ma-relieve halos lahat or halos buong buong lungs na natin, buong airways na natin, which is very complementary and nagagamit siya sa COPD lalo na severe cases. Next po. Ayan, so we have the additive effect of beta-adrenergic and the anticholinergic agent. So how their mechanism of action explain that the chemical pathway for bronchodilation are separate and complementary for each class. Short-acting agents like albuterol and ipratropium complement each other because beta agonists will peak sooner but end sooner. So while the anticholinergic peaks more slowly and lasts longer. So yung rationale dito is theoretically, we say na combining these two is, combining these two classes offers a more, 'di ba? Para siyang additive effect na sinasabi natin on our previous topics. Then sabi ko, it's complementary for each class. Kasi nga, your anticholinergic effects are seen more in central larger airways, while your beta agonist effect is seen more in your smaller airways. So the chemical pathways for bronchodilation is being separate. Ibig sabihin, mas maganda yun kasi in terms of pharmacokinetics is the short-acting agents like the albuterol and ipratropium, like for our example here, na they complement each other because your beta agonist is the one na nagpipik sooner. So, mabilis yung effect niya, though mabilis rin siyang mag-end. But, yun yung problem natin, di ba? Pero, the solution is that, pwede tayong mag-combine ng anticholinergic. Kung mabilis man maubos or kung mabilis mang mawala yung effect ni beta agonist, we have anticholinergic na kahit matagal yung effect niya, for example, habang nag-a-act si beta agonist sa ating lungs, is si anticholinergic para lang siyang nagbi-build ng isipin natin para siyang nagbi-build ng powers. Tapos kapag si beta agonist, since mabilis siya, mas si anticholinergic para natin siyang back up na more slowly and last longer, which is very beneficial for us. Next. Ayan. So, nakikita dito, another research or test na ginawa is based on our textbook na the combination therapy, this one, itong yellow line na to, shows that using both ipratropium and albuterol together is, ayan o, nakikita nyo ba, sobrang bilis nung pag-onset niya. Sobrang bilis nung effect niya. And then this one, this broken line na kulay pink, that is your albuterol alone. So sobrang tagal, and yung percent change niya is around 25 or mga 20, gitna ng 20 to 25. And then this dotted line, this blue one, is it represents the response sa mismong anticholinergic lang. So ito nakikita natin dito sa ating data or graph na yung combination therapy is more effective than either pagbigay natin ng anticholinergic mag-isa or beta agonist na mag-isa lang, ganyan. So this combination therapy maintains a consistently higher percentage of improvement in lung function throughout the entire 6 hours. Ayan, 6 hours duration. Next. Ayan, another key point that combined anticholinergic and beta agonist therapy may give additive bronchodilating result in COPD and severe asthma, acute asthma. Next po. Ayan, so we have here the different combined therapy. First is your Combivent. Ano ba yung Combivent? This is a metered dose inhaler. This is inhaler version, which is each puff, it gives you a 18 microgram of ipratropium and 90 microgram of albuterol. So this is usually taken 2 puff. Sinabi ni EJ to kanina. And 2 puff siya, and then 4 times a day mo siyang gagamitin. Next. Next is your Duoneb, which is a small volume nebulizer naman. So this is a solution for your nebulizer. So kung kanina si Combivent, it is an inhaler version. Ito naman si Duoneb, ginagamit siya sa ating nebulizer. So it contains a 0.5 milligram of ipratropium and 2.5 milligrams of albuterol. Next. Ayan. So, I have a question here na should you inhale your beta agonist before your anticholinergic or inhale your anticholinergic before your beta agonist? Diba? Does the order actually matter? Actually, you might hear other practitioners na based on our textbook that they debate whether you should inhale your beta agonist first or anticholinergic. So, mapapa-question ka as a respiratory therapy student, does the order actually matter? Actually, hindi naman. That while the theory sounds good na na baka mas mauuna yung beta agonist or baka mas maganda if mauuna yung anticholinergic. Actually, there is no specific data that proves na yung isang order is better than other. Ganyan. Kahit sinasabi natin na mas mabilis yung beta agonist, mas matagal yung onset ng anticholinergic, it does not matter if ano yung uunahin mo. Okay? And if you're using combination product naman, gaya ng sinabi ko na Combivent, yung Duonep, ganyan, you don't even have to worry about that because the order of the both drugs are being delivered to your lungs at the exact time. So it does not matter. Okay, next po. Ayan. So kung kanina may combined therapy, we can also have a triple therapy. So combining a LABA or an inhaled corticosteroids, like for example for your LAMA is tiotropium, LABA is for salmeterol, and your inhaled corticosteroid is the fluticasone. This three-way combination does not just improve your breathing, it can actually help reduce the progression of your COPD over time. So it's much better if 'di ba better na yung combined therapy. How much more if magbibigay ka ng triple therapy sa ating patient. Next po. So ngayon, alam na natin kung yung mga clinical applications, ano yung mga gagamitin mo, ano yung much better, kung magko-combine ka ba or para saan, or alam natin kung saan pumupunta yung mga drugs natin. So as a respiratory therapy or therapist, future respiratory therapist, we have here your respiratory care assessment of anticholinergic bronchodilator therapy. So I lifted this from Rouse. First is before you start the treatment. So first, of course, you need to assess the drug effectiveness. You need to check if the drug is actually indicated for the patient. Sobrang halaga nito kasi mamaya mali pala yung binigay mo nagbigay ka pala ng pang bronchoconstriction sa mga patient na kailangan ng bronchodilation. You must look for signs of reversible airflow obstruction, whether that caused by primary bronchospasm, inflammation, or secretion. Next. Before treatment rin, you must monitor flow rates. So you should use a bedside peak flow meter, portable spirometry, or lab reports to track the pulmonary function. So tip here na don't rely solely on a patient's response to a beta agonist to predict how they will respond to an anticholinergic like ipratropium because they don't always react the same way. Next po. Of course, it is also important to perform a respiratory assessment. So you must check their breathing rate, their breathing pattern, listen to their breath sounds through your auscultation, both before and after you give the treatment. Para makita mo kung may pagbabago ba sa narinig mo. For example, may nagwi-wheeze na pala si patient sa mga asthma patient natin. Tapos titignan mo if may after the treatment, if nag-relief ba, ganun. This is a way kung paano mo malalaman na napunta ba dun sa desired area na gusto mo yung drug na binibigay mo. Next. Ayan, so before treatment rin, you check the pulse. So, make it a habit to assess their pulse before, during, and after. Hindi lang before, but syempre, i-check mo si patient during and after. Next is, during treatment naman or short-term monitoring. So while the patient is receiving the drug or shortly after you give the drug, you need to check them. So as the patient, how they feel. Are they finding it easier to breathe? Nare-relief ba yung paghirap, yung mahirap nilang paghinga? Or is their effort increasing? Next is monitor oxygenation. So, especially in acute COPD or asthma cases, you should use a pulse oximetry or mag-order ka ng ABG or your arterial blood gas to monitor how well they are ventilating and exchanging gases. Next. Next is for long-term assessment. So for patient on long-term therapy, your focus will shift to a big picture. Kasi we should check hindi lang yung effect nung drugs, kung gumagana ba siya or kung may effect siya or pinapa-decrease niya yung mga work of breathing ng patient, but also in long-term assessment, we must check its lung function. So you need to periodically monitor their lung volumes, capacities, and flows. Next is to verify device technique. So this is a very important, especially sa mga patient, kasi you must instruct the patient how to use their device. And actually, nakabase sa coordination ng patient kung kaya niya bang gawin yung mga gantong procedure, yung pag-puff and breath holding, nakadepende kung ano yung ipapagamit mong device para sure ka na gumagana and sure ka na kaya nilang i-deliver mag-isa if lalo na long-term assessment to. And then watch them to do it to verify that they are doing it correctly. So return demonstration nyo sila kung paano nyo po gagawin, ma'am, ganito. Ganyan. Next is for long-term assessment rin, sinabi ni Kenneth na may mga effects, di ba? So, we must check the eye or eye protection. So, you have to emphasize that they must protect their eye from aerosol spray as accidental exposure can issues like blurred visions. Next, device maintenance rin is very important because sabi ko nga, make sure you teach them how to assemble and most importantly, to clean their inhalation devices. Next. Sa mga LAMA users or long-acting users natin, they should track or you should you should help them or how to track their pre-dose FEV1 levels over time to see if the drug is maintaining its effect. You need to check how often they are still needing their rescue beta agonist inhaler and if they are having nocturnal symptoms. Next. You also need to keep count of their exacerbation, hospitalization, and even the days they've had to miss work or school dahil sa mga symptoms na nararamdaman nila. And lastly, next po. Ayan, for general contraindication rin, for general safety of the patient, knowing these drugs are generally safe, but you still need to regularly assess the patient on long-term therapy. Hindi lang basta nagbigay ka ng drug sa patient, pwede mo na silang iwanan. You must guide them as a respiratory therapist kasi ikaw at ikaw lang rin yung makakaalam if tama ba at effective ba yung yung gamot sa patient in terms of assessment, especially if they are using multiple drugs in combination. Next po. And lastly is the vision precaution. If your patient has vision problem like glaucoma, you must monitor them very closely because anticholinergic therapy can potentially worsen this condition if the drug gets into the eyes. And I think that's the last slide for this chapter 7, our anticholinergic drugs.